we have a, before, our first presentation is, you remember when the people came for the, talked about the Sheets Station at the corner of Mapledale? Well, that's a go. I heard that's definitely a go. There will be a Sheets there across from the BP. Now, we have another project. It's a storage facility. And it will be located, say you're on Dale Boulevard going toward Manassas, past Hoadley, and you got a McDonald's on the left. It will be next to that down on the left. And we have Jack here, our architect. He's gonna give us a little, like a 10-minute briefing on what's happening with that. Jack?
I'll jump before Jack.
Thanks
for giving us a few minutes. My name's Paul Corns. This is Anthony. We're with Arcland Property Company. We're an area developer, mainly focused on self-storage. Jack Wilbern is with Butz Wilbern. He's our architect. They're out of Falls Church. And we've been working on this project. We're the applicant in for an SUP, hoping to get on the Planning Commission in March. Been designing this project for about a year now, so we're pretty happy with it and want to give you a quick overview on
So I'll go through this pretty quick so you can get to everything else. And we'll have time right at the end for questions. But we are located, as James said, that's Dale Boulevard running across. There's the ice center, that's the waterworks, and we're right behind, wrapping around, sort of an L shape in behind the McDonald's at that intersection. That Sheets that he was just talking about, that's right over here, and we're diagonal behind the McDonald's. So we're here, I can never say that right.
Yabsco.
Thank you. Has asked us to talk to local appellate. We were there a couple weeks ago. We're here to give you a sense of what's going on and where we are in the process. This is part of an area that had a big design study for it, and we've been through that pretty in depth to make sure that we're compliant. This is just a real two-dimensional look-down view. Again, this is Maple Boulevard off here to the right. Dale Boulevard over here. Mapledale across here. This right here is where the McDonald's is. What we're doing is wrapping around. These are all just little one-story buildings sort of tucked down into it. And it's 3 stories here, but the grade drops off down here to the stream. And so we're driving under part of the building to get to the back. So all the activity is screened. So from the street, you don't see a bunch of cars and activity. This just sort of tells you what we're doing in terms of the green area around it. We have a big setback here where we're planting. We're planting alongside the existing stream bed, and then we have this big 50-foot buffer as well as a 12-foot trail, which the idea is that this will eventually connect across to all the other development that's in the plan and come back through here and give a trail back over to the waterworks, to the water park. So this community has another safe way to get there. We're not in charge of building the trail, we're in charge of giving the land so the trail can happen. Since we've met with the supervisors in office a couple of times, they asked us specifically to pay a little bit more attention to what was going on in Mapledale in terms of decorative planning, make it a much nicer place to walk and safe, as well as do the same thing and really try to make this feel more like an office building and a high quality development, sort of like what was done with Sheets, where they put a lot of money and time and attention into streetscape and walkways and the like, and we're doing the same. So we have since then gone ahead and started paying attention to getting some more evergreens across Mapledale, and some real decorative planting of the corners and up in front of the building. And that's something that we're working with the supervisor's office to make sure that we heard them correctly in terms of feedback. And then again, this is the basic orientation looking at the whole project. This is as you're driving on Dale Boulevard towards the McDonald's, so you sort of see the McDonald's in the distance, and we're coming by the floodplain that's right here, and you turn in, you can just start to see the edge of the building. Apparently, I'm driving down the median of the highway somehow. And now I'm looking back over my shoulder, I'm on the wrong side of the road. But that starts to tell you, we were given a lot of direction to make this look like an office building as closely as we could, but with no actual you can't see the storage doors. That's a common thing you see in a lot of self-storage facilities where you can see the doors are brightly lit and 2 a.m. and that sort of thing. Supervisor's office staff, very clear, we can't do that here. This is the kind of installation where it's supposed to be mimicking an office, so this is all glass, but it'll be blanked off. But down at the street level, where we're going to drive under our 3-story building, we're putting canopies, we'll put where the office is, we're paying a lot of attention to this forecourt, where we'll put decorative pavers in it, that sort of thing. This is looking from essentially the sheets, and it starts to tell the story about, that's our office building storage facility.
Mm-hmm.
That's the McDonald's that's there right now. And then you start to see just the back shoulder, if you will, of the 1-stories that's on that back corner on Mapledale.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all 1-story, we're kind of building up the dirt, so it just looks like a nice brick wall. That's the idea, is that you don't see into the storage, you don't see activity. It's good for us because it makes it kind of a safe, sort of a fortress style. And then we can put plants in front of it and everybody can be very happy about that. We've actually shown a couple of these pictures without any of the plants, just to make sure that when we first plant it, because plants start off real small, we still want to make sure that that looks good. So this is on Mapledale, looking at the back of the McDonald's where the drive-thru is. A little bit of us right here, but it's just a very quiet facade and nice planting. I'm now driving backwards. Apparently I'm on the sidewalk. I'm walking backwards on the sidewalk, coming back down. That's Dale Boulevard in the distance. And you can just see we're planting it. Supervisors asked us to supplement this with more evergreens to give it even more, contrast and a little bit more screening, which we've already done on the updated site plan. And this is as you approach where there's proposed to have when this other property develops, in the next few years, the idea is to have a crosswalk here and lead to that trail down alongside, down to the waterworks. Mm-hmm. We were also asked to sort of come into the cul-de-sac that backs up. There's only about 4 houses that back up to it. And in about 10 years, we have 50 feet of dense planting. I mean, if you look back at the plan I showed you at the beginning, there's a plant every square inch, it looks like. And that's a required planting from the county. Again, that's sort of the overall view. I did that really quick. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions at all. Ma'am.
You're gonna be close to, houses. What did they say? They don't mind if you build right there?
That was interesting. Let me get that to play again. We've been working with the supervisor's office to get that sort of feedback. That's a big part of what's driving let me get back to that landscape plan so you can see the distance. From that back property line to our brick wall, that's all they see is sort of a half-height brick wall, is about 62 feet.
That was that last view he showed where you saw the houses close that. That's the view where you wouldn't even be able to see through the buffer.
It's really these 1, 2, 3, 4 houses that back up to us. And when we looked at the original plan for this area, they had originally contemplated that they would have an office building right here, 4 stories tall, right in their backyard. So we're going to be a 1-story.
So they're expecting something to be
taller, yes. And we're going to be a 1-story with brick wall.
Meetings, any kind of meeting with the
We've done Locapelt, we've done everything that supervisors ask us to direct. There's not really a homeowners association for us to hit at. We've done outreach with the supervisor's office, and she's told us where it is. Sir?
So you've done no discussions at all with people who actually live there as far as whether there's a need or a desire for a storage unit to be sitting in their backyard?
No. The only dialogue we've had for those homeowners is just via the supervisor's office.
So can I ask why not?
For the most part, we follow what the supervisor tells us to do in terms of what she wants to have, and he wants to have us do in terms of who to reach out to. And as far as I know, they've driven and talked to people, and they've directed that was the path that they wanted us to take. If anybody in that neighborhood wants to talk to us, we're happy to do it.
I live blocks from there.
Me too. So I'm wondering where
I'm not
is this
happy
gonna
about
fit? Where is it
So-
gonna fit?
So 2 things. In terms of, this is a commercial property. And what we've tried to do is put as quiet a use, I mean, there's, office building, any number of things would be actually much more traffic intense, much more light intense, a lot of activity that goes on. We have, a handful of cars per hour, so we're extremely low use. And we think that we are providing, one, unnecessary use for the community. Self-storage only draws from a couple of miles around. It isn't like people are driving from Stafford or out of county to come here. This is all going to draw from your neighborhood and just a couple of miles of businesses around us. So there was one other hand in this
Is
down
there
front.
a real need for another storage place in Dale City?
Well, these people
Yes.
are putting up a whole lot of money on the theory that they've done a huge market analysis that says that there's a increasing demand for self-storage, and they're putting a lot of their money out of their pocket on the theory that that's what that they can make this business work. You and then you.
Okay. With CubeSmart, don't they have like virtual offices? Don't they offer something else other than storage?
No, and so it's a building that we would build and deliver, and then CubeSmart would basically run the operations for us. It'd be their branding, but they'll have their leasing and management office, up front where you come in if you're a new customer. But other than that, the rest is our storage units.
Yeah, they don't have like a WeWork sort of thing. There's no place there for people to work out of that facility other than two people who are working. This gal and then the gentleman in the back again.
So where exactly is this? 'Cause I know where the McDonald's is on Mapledale, so it's like close to
Literally, that's the McDonald's right there.
Yeah,
So when you-
what you're looking at north is to the right. So north is going this way. So Mapledale's at the bottom and Dale is on the right side.
So what happens is when you go to McDonald's, you come out on the Mapledale over here,
Right.
right? And that way we're just using theirs as an exit only if we ever need it. Otherwise, we're trying to do all of our business on Dale Boulevard and not come out on this street. But for fire marshal and a lot of other reasons, we need to access and be able to tap that drive for their go through. Just a minute, gentleman back here, and then this gal.
Yeah, so I appreciate that it's a commercial space, and I appreciate that developers need to make a living too. My concern is that we've done 2 studies on Dale City, specifically the Mapledale Plaza was one of those areas,
Yep.
right? And we as taxpayers paid for those studies, and nowhere in those studies was a CubeSmart or a storage unit of any description. So I'm at a loss as to why we wouldn't, as developers, be good community members, talk to the folks who actually live in the area, and also work with the plans that are already put in place that we paid for, and put something in there that's actually going to create a greater neighborhood feel in Mapledale.
Well, from what I understand, so looking at this node and the study for it was, I don't remember the square footage, but it was that 4-story, 200,000 square foot office building in the back, which was against the, the activation of the street that was key, and other concepts of the study that were key about bringing the activity to the street as opposed to backwards. It seemed like it was exactly opposite of what was trying to be achieved in terms of a more vibrant, walkable area along the sidewalks, the intersection, etc., which Sheets was also trying to accommodate. But that what was proposed there was counterproductive with what the goals were, is what it seemed like.
So when we pulled the study up, because we were directed and are very aware of that nodal study, and everything is sort of downstream from us to to the east, all that development. In a lot of ways, what the supervisors told us is that, and in reading the plan, is that this parcel was predominantly about making connections, to make sure that we had connections and walkability across Maple to connect the neighborhood, that we provide the kind of increasing connections over here, that this entire front place be a place where people could stop, keep walking, etc. But the financial realities are not that many people are building office buildings anywhere in Northern Virginia. The Northern Virginia office market is somewhere north of 25% vacancy right now. So economically, nobody's building an office building anytime soon. So hold on, this gal over here. So from our perspective, we think that we're doing our level best to meet the intent of the plan in terms of connecting and to provide a streetscape that actually achieves the goal of trying to create a streetscape. The only thing that we're unable to provide is an office building. We're not in that business, and it's not bankable. So that's where we are. We have the advantage of being able to provide extremely low traffic on the street and not burden the streets or the neighborhoods in terms of rush hour traffic. We're able to shoulder completely away from the neighborhood and provide essentially just a one-story brick wall where we are planting density across it. So that's the trade-off that the supervisor's office is, why we're asking for a special use permit, is to try to see what the community thinks of that balance and trade. Ultimately, it's up to the supervisor's office and the board of supervisors, and your voice is absolutely important for them to hear. So this gal, Ms. Hicks,
Excuse me, I'm not a gal.
I'm sorry.
Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. You know, when I look at this, and like you say, it won't be a lot of traffic, I happen to be on the board for the school district. And I worry about kids. That's my worry. So I'm not too sure how this is going to feel, or what it even looks like. When did you get the permit?
We are making an application for a special
As
use
you're doing
permit.
special use?
It's
Okay.
been submitted, it's been in the system for a year almost, and going through the different processes with both the county and supervisor's office. So our earliest public hearing is in March 7th.
Where?
Our first, would be our first planning commission hearing.
Oh, with
Public
the planning commission,
Planning
okay.
Commission March 7th. So you asked, what would it look like along, this is what we're pushing to
Now,
make it look
I'm
like.
not comfortable yet with this. This is the first I've heard about it.
Absolutely.
I'm busy trying to find at least 20 acres to build a school. Elementary. So, it's gonna take me time to take a look at it and go out with some of the people from the county and we can look this over a lot better. I'm just not comfortable.
And 6 and
Okay, I think the building is nice, and I understand the minimum amount of traffic. My only concern with it, you know, we're the Dale City Civic Association, the voice of Dale City, we speak for the community. I just want to make sure that how you're gonna post it, or you're gonna pass out any flyers. We're having a meeting about building a storage unit in this spot, you can come. I just want to make sure the people who live around that have notice and are okay with it. If it's okay with them, they live around it. It's okay with me. But those are the people, I think, that count, so I just want to make sure you're going to put up like a big sign that says, a town meeting about a storage unit. And then,
And we can use one of the schools.
and I'm gonna live around it, and I'm gonna say, a storage unit, I better go see what's going on. Is that gonna
And
happen?
we'll absolutely feedback to the supervisor's office and say
We'll
that
work
that's.
with John.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's sort of like whatever the supervisor says, we're gonna pretty much show up at whatever he tells us to show up at. Not a problem. Ma'am? So, as I said, I mean, we're not trying to rush it. We're not trying to slip anything under the tent. You know, we've been at this for a while with the supervisor's office and following the path that they've told us to do. Your voice is obviously important. They asked us to come to you. If you're saying that we need to do something else, I'm sure the supervisor's office is going to lay it out for us when and how to set it up and the whole nine yards.
Are there any jobs in there?
Yeah.
And what?
Does that provide any jobs?
It provides jobs in two.
Even a janitor?
Yes, during construction, obviously, we, you know, for a year, we're employing a bunch of people for the construction. Once it's built, in essence, they have 2 to 3 employees that they have on site. And they contract for some janitorial service, things like that, but mostly it's a 2 to 3 people who are working at that facility in some shifts. So it's pretty low employment.
That you're not intending on transferring from your existing administration, it's gonna supply new jobs.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Otherwise, they'd be taken from another store. That's what I guess.
A lot of times what they'll do is they'll relocate a district manager during the first to train people, to get them up to operation. Sir?
How many parking spaces are there?
6.
And how many are disabled? Or ADA?
Oh yeah, we have right up front, we've got we have a minimum of 2% and it's van accessible right at the front door. And then we have 2% of all the different units are handicap accessible throughout the facility by unit type. So if it's a small unit or a big unit, at least 2% across the entire facility of every kind of unit type are handicap accessible. It's elevated, it has an elevator for the main building, and then all the exterior access are fully accessible.
Ooh. Is there a fence around that?
Not on this side by the street because that's not real friendly. So for the most part, if you look at this, what we're doing is the building forms a security. So we'll have a security gate back here, we'll have a fence to that building, and then the rest is wall to a gate. So we're using the buildings to form a secure perimeter, and even the little connector here between this building and that building is a brick wall rather than just a fence, because we want to screen all view of any activity from Maple or the neighborhood.
Okay.
And along this side, we have some stormwater issues and we have to connect over there, so that one will be actually a chain link fence inside the landscaping.
So when I'm coming to my storage unit at 9 o'clock at night, I'm
You
gonna
won't be
feel
able to-
safe in there?
You will not come in at 9 o'clock at night.
It's locked up.
It's locked up. It is a dawn-to-dusk operation. The only people who ever come after hours are people that are by special appointment only. You forgot something, you're going on a trip the next morning. We might have a couple people who get up at dark 30 and want to grab some stuff and go. But the office operations and the normal operation facility is dawn to dusk, 7 to 7 during the week, lower on the weekends, lowest on Sunday.
So
I just want to give the gentleman in the back a shot.
How many units?
About 1,100 units.
1,100 units. And you say that this draws from the community.
2 to 3.
You're looking at, the community is taking advantage of this. So you're going to have roughly, let's just say 80% of that is coming from the local community within a 2-mile radius. I hate to sound like a broken record, but it would seem that you would want to talk to the local community and see if that's actually something that there's a need for. There might be a need in Northern Virginia for storage units, but I'm not convinced that in my neighborhood there's 1,100 households that are going to need storage.
Well, I can only answer that in 2 ways. One is, there's a lot of money on the line, and a lot of very sophisticated studies saying that that's the radius, and between residential population and businesses, that is where they're going to draw from. And everything that's anywhere near here is at 85 to 95% rented. So almost all the storage facilities anywhere near this are at full capacity. So it's really, I understand, but I think that's a separate issue than a planning issue about whether or not this is the kind of use you want to hear in this functional area. People, when we were doing stuff in McLean, they didn't want any gas stations. It's like, well, but everybody uses a gas station, right? And so the people who are investing in it are the ones who are really pretty driven to make damn sure before they put all their money in it that it's actually got a real need for it. So that's to me, it's a different issue. That this may or may not be what you want to see here is one thing, but whether or not the market has a demand for it, a lot of money is being spent to confirm that that's true.
Talking about shrubs and things, have you, what are you using?
We follow pretty straightforward with the county
Is the county
request
guideline?
in terms of density, native species, maintainability, initial planting heights and size. We have to, when they put it in, it's all guaranteed for a minimum for a year. They have all sorts of restrictions on it.
Do you have the names of the plants and the trees
Uh,
and the shrubbery?
The landscape architect, when they put the plan and put the special use permit in,
Uh-huh.
what it does is it says, it identifies, let's say, 10 different types
Yes.
of, low shrubs, high shrubs, and then it puts a chart and it says, here are the 5 possibilities for that street tree, the 5 possibilities for that evergreen, the 5 possibilities by thing. That's pretty standard process in the county.
It is, but sometimes beauty needs to be placed in some spaces.
And that's
So
where,
That's why I asked, hold
Yes.
on one second. That's why I asked if, what are the names of the shrubberies?
I can't read the Latin, but I'll
Oh,
tell you that this is
well,
exactly
bush
why.
Number 1 and bush.
Well, but in this area and across here, the areas where we're most getting the most focus in terms of providing the high-quality streetscape that is required by the plan,
Yeah.
and the sort of pedestrian-friendly. The supervisor was very focused on making sure that it was fully accessible, that we would have sidewalks that didn't have trip hazards, all that sort of stuff. So they have asked us very specifically to be more detailed with more decorative planning. So
Yes.
and not just the county minimum, but to go in those 2 areas and supplement and be very specific about tiered planting, perennials, all those sort of things, so flowering, and not just acacias and evergreens and basics.
That's too bad you can't have palm trees here. The reason for the shrubs and stuff is to take away from just the plain looking buildings, and it hopefully brings a little something else. I'm still looking for a spot for a school. So, you
We're not
don't
20
pay
acres.
attention to me.
We're not 20 acres.
No, you're not 20
Not 20
acres.
acres. So,
I can
yes,
vote tomorrow again.
and all of this, we can certainly work to try to get you the link to where it is in the county, because that's all been filed with the county, so it's a matter of public record, so to make sure that you all have access to it. And sometimes it's hard to find, so I actually usually ask staff to give us a direct link so we can give it to people so that you don't have to drill down 40 pages on their website.
Okay, yeah, thanks very much, appreciate you.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Didn't they say-